Hey, on September 22nd, Mercury will go into the heart of the sun at 0 degrees of Libra. This is called the world axis. It has a huge amount of potency for the collective. It is going to have some ramifications globally as he goes into the deep connection with the divine intelligence of the sun, is meshing with that part of our sky. But it's also interesting because there's an asteroid right beside this big Cazimi moment on September 22nd around noon-ish Pacific Canadian time, which is the asteroid Wuhan, is sitting right there in the mix. And across the way, opposite this Cazimi, Jupiter with the asteroid Salacia. These are stories that may have something to do with misrepresentation, misinformation, disinformation, Salacia, gossip. Jupiter's with that story being blown up, but also going backward, Jupiter going backwards to go back into old stories that were maybe not quite true. At the same time, Wuhan, that's an asteroid that's more than about pandemic central and where that pandemic may have originated from. It is about revolution and overthrows of existing powerful governments. So we'll stay tuned for the mundane aspects of the story, but in your life, it's a little softer than that. It's a little bit better because this is a Libra point. And has to do with some kind of divine downloads, insights, and breakthroughs that you can have about your one-to-one relationships, about balance and harmony and peace within your own life, even about balancing anything that you need to balance regarding money. And we'll get to the money story because there's a little bit of a secret support from Venus as she is in the sign of Virgo during this Cazimi. Now, before we get going to do the all signs and the mundane or the collective storyline, a couple of notes, okay? Who am I? Well, guess what? My name is Lori Lothian. I'm a sky reader. I use codes of Hellenistic and Babylonian astrology in order to decipher what the true stories are in the sky and how those true stories affect your life. And when I do this thing for you today, when I talk about your rising sign, and you can listen for your sun and moon, just remember, it's not specific to your entire natal chart. Yes, it can be accurate, but it's nowhere near as accurate as when you see an astrologer and you do this thing called a personal chart reading. That's number one. Number two, look for your rising sign first. Don't know what it is. Check out my free video below on how to calculate your chart using online free software. It's a video tutorial. It's free. It's 5 minutes long. And I teach you how to use a whole sign house method, which is the ancient tradition that I use. And a lot of astrologers are now moving toward as well, because it tends to be far more accurate. Humble opinion. And lastly, guess what? I have a webinar for the Cazimi. It's actually happening on the day of the Cazimi. Come jump in. We're going to talk about this in more depth. There's going to be a presentation by me, and we're also going to do a guided meditation to harness some of the potency of the 0 degrees Libra Cazimi, where Mercury is joining with the powerhouse of King Sol, sitting in the palace, in the lap of the king, and getting divine instruction for your life. And it's best to actually approach it as a participation. So participate with Mercury and me and whoever gathers on my live webinar. It's going to be at 1 o'clock Pacific time, 4 o'clock Eastern time on the day of the Cazimi, which is Thursday, the 22nd, and there will be a replay. The replay, if you can't make the live event, will still be good to the midnight kind of thing on the day of the Cazimi, so you can still harness some of the information, insights, and that meditation to really align with this magical sky. All right, so let's get going and talk a bit first about one thing. What is a Cazimi again? Yeah, so basically, planets, when they combine their forces by being perfectly conjunct within a degree, are within a Cazimi of each other. Now, Mercury goes into this Cazimi or connection to the sun about 6 times a year. This time he's doing it from his inferior conjunction, which means he's traveling between the Earth and the sun. And he does that when he is retrograde. It means as well, he's close to Earth. Mercury, the trickster, Mercury, the magician, Mercury, the god of synchronicity, the dream messenger, the psychopomp. He's in his more magical side, his more magician qualities when he's retrograde. And we're feeling a lot more intensity about his retrogradations when he is getting into that position where he's approaching that Cazimi. Now, when he's in the Cazimi moment, right, when he's actually in that heart of the sun, and let's say we're starting to feel the goodness of that for sure on the 22nd, right? But when he's within a degree of the perfecting of this particular moment, we're going to really feel that as a strong moment of release from kind of crazy ass stuff that happens, like on broken computers, missed time schedules, appointments going awry, classic Mercury retrograde, especially with Libra. This could be malfunctions to do with things to do with courts, justice, law, legal affairs, watch out, one-on-one relationship misunderstandings. These are classic Libra energies where he's Cazimi, but there'll be relief there because yes, he's been retrograding in Libra, moving backwards and backwards and backwards through that sign. We've been feeling some of those snafus. And then he goes into the Virgo territory. And just before he hits that Virgo territory, his home sign, he does that heart of the sun deal with the sun. And really, we get a relief from a lot of the snafus we've been experiencing. You can probably just hear right now my phone buzzing, and I don't even know how to stop it because unfortunately, I'm waiting for someone to buzz my building. And if I turn off my phone, I'm so sorry, I won't get the buzz code from there ringing the bell. So this is a classic Mercury retrograde conundrum. All right, a couple other things I want to say. There's a very, like back in the day, back in the olden days, the sun was the king and Mercury would be like the scout or the messenger or the advanced scout or something like that. Like, the archetype here is like, or the advisor to the king. And so Mercury here, the magician priest kind of thing. So Mercury here is going to be powwowing with the king. And in a way that in our real life, in the collective sphere of reality, this can literally be information coming into the knowledge or to the king, like to the president or the prime minister or the premier or wherever, somebody in great power, that Mercury is delivering from a retrograde motion, meaning he's bringing something that's already been questioned or something that's already been like machinated about into clarity for some person in leadership. This is kind of an interesting Mercury retrograde. I'm going to show you the sky because I want to show you what I'm looking at. Because this Mercury retrograde Cazimi has always been involving this Jupiter narrative. And if you want to know why, because Jupiter's retrograding in Aries. And as he's doing this, and he's moving pretty slowly right now, Mercury keeps crossing paths with him and making an oppositional aspect. Now, this has happened will happen 3 times. Mercury made an oppositional aspect on September the 2nd, when he was going in direct motion through Libra, and then he crossed over in an oppositional relationship to Jupiter. Then again, he will do the same thing from his retrogradation 4 days before the Cazimi on September 18th. And then it's almost like he's going to bring some sort of information or news about Jupiter to the king. Oh, so Jupiter here, Jupiter represents other leader energies, people in command, commander in chief. Jupiter is very assassin oriented and warrior oriented when he happens to be in Aries. And there is this feeling as well, like, because of the asteroid Salacia sitting with Jupiter in the sky during the 18th of September all the way through to the Cazimi, Salacia can be gossip, but it can also be things that have been misspoken, like purposefully, like misinformation, disinformation, wrong information. And I wonder here in the world for the collective, as Mercury goes back again around the 18th, 4 days before the Cazimi, that there isn't some kind of bringing of true information, right knowledge, right guidance to the king, the energy of the sun. So I don't know how that will play out, but it could be some breaking through energy around things to do with war in the Ukraine, the pandemic stories. I don't know, things like that. And the reason I'm bringing the pandemic and the war stories up is that the sun, as the Cazimi is going to be happening, will be conjunct Wuhan. Now, it may help me to also point out, before we talk about Wuhan, in the collective story, is that Venus is in a mutual reception with Mercury. They're in each other's houses during the Cazimi at basically 0 degrees and 14 minutes. And this Cazimi means that Venus is participating by being in a receptive state to hear what's going on in her house and wanting to listen in. And at the same time, Mercury is also willing to talk to Venus because Venus is in his house. And so there's a communication going on between these two planets, even though at first glance, it would look like an aversion. There is some conversation. I would wonder here if Venus may indeed be wanting to bring some kind of goodness to things to do with health, because she's in Virgo, and this would be things to do with health and wellness and medicine. And interestingly, and you can't make this up, the 1 degree Sabian symbol, you always round up with Sabian symbols. 40 Libra, it rounds up to 1 Libra. And the Sabian symbol is an interesting one. I jotted it down. A butterfly made perfect by a dart through it. Now, a dart is a sharp object that penetrates. And I guess this is speaking to a pinned butterfly that's dead. But when I think of Wuhan and all of that, I think of jabs, right? And darts of injections or needles. And there's something, I'm just going to say, there's something trying to break through here about those narratives to do with the pandemic. Now, there's a lot of controversy going on. Please don't label me an anti-vaxxer. I'm just reporting the news. There's a lot of controversy going on about why the government in the United States is pushing booster vaccines, bivalent ones, on a bivalent vaccine that was tested, like the new Omicron variant strain was tested on 6 mice, and why, when 90% of children have seroprevalence, will be tried to, the seroprevalence shows that 90% of children have had COVID recently. Why would we be pressing this vaccine? So there's a lot of stuff going on right now in the United States. Congress is debating this kind of thing. There's pressure, whatever. So I don't know, something's going on here. And I would say there are countries in the world where they're just done with the pandemic, right? Denmark just banished anyone under the age of 50 from having a vaccine. You're not allowed to get it anymore unless you have some high risk exception. So, I mean, we have so many things going on in different countries, right? So Canada and the United States are in some kind of, like, seems like, could be wrong, cahoots with pharmaceutical agents, pharmaceutical profits or something, but I could be wrong, don't know. But I do think we will see in the world something happening, not during the Cazimi necessarily breaking through regarding these stories to do with the Wuhan story, the vaccines, the pandemic, because Mercury is invisible and he will not be visible for a while. Same with Venus. She's also invisible and won't be visible again until December. So she's still visible now, but about the second week of September, I'm recording this, before she turns invisible, she will be invisible. So anyway, invisible Venus and then invisible Mercury. So Mercury gets his visibility back around the very end of September, and he also goes direct on October 2nd. So I think that any news stuff that comes out of this Cazimi may be delayed until later on. And that makes a bit of sense because it will be around October 11th, okay, that the last pass of Mercury opposite Jupiter will happen. And that could be a massive news story breaking around the 10th, 11th, 12th of October to do with things to do with war or pandemics. Now let's go to the war story and talk about that for a minute. And, the next Cazimi is the day before the US, November 8th, midterm elections. And Mercury will go into the heart of the sun at 15 degrees of Scorpio, a very powerful place in the sky that was activated recently by a lot of eclipse energy and stuff like that. So, and also the big boom of the early part of August, Uranus North Node and Mars conjoined at 18 degrees of Taurus across from the 15-degree mark, where, Mercury will go into the heart of the sun in Scorpio a day before a midterm election. That is a very destabilizing energy, not to mention Mercury, who rules ballots and stuff like that, will be invisible, right? So it's got a lot going on to do also with the November 8th timeframe. But let me read a bit about Wuhan for you, okay? I'm just going to say the Wuhan asteroid is described in my software as this. It is described as the largest city in central China and a major focal point in the Chinese history that included the start of a revolution that overthrew the emperor. Wu means military or business affairs. Han means cold. COVID-19 originated in Wuhan, possibly meaning where something starts small but swiftly becomes quite significant, bringing about change on many levels. So we can look at that designation to do with whatever may be happening, okay, on the Cazimi, that small things can become large things. Also things to do with rebellion and overthrow of people in power. So this could be, the Taiwan-China crisis heating up. This could be the Putin and Zelensky and Russia-Ukraine thing coming to a definitive closure. There's not likely to be peace with the whole thing going on in Ukraine, unfortunately, because Venus, the goddess of peace, will be invisible all the way until about the early part of December, and that invisibility cloaks peace, you know. So it could be deals going on in the back room, but I don't know that we'll have any kind of real peace treaties being cobbled out until mid-December in things to do with war. And that includes sanctions and trade sanctions as well, being still stuck in wherever they are, you know, regarding sanctions, say, against Russia, who has a huge supply of natural gas that Europe needs. And now Europe is going to be in trouble this winter. So watch for early December, some negotiations breaking through as Venus becomes visible for things that are stagnant to do with trade, especially Libran themes, right? Trade agreements, peace treaties, harmony between two warring parties, things like that. Let's talk about the all signs, okay? Let's do you now. So don't forget, sky reading has to do with telling a story for the world, but it also has to do with telling your personal narrative as well. Somebody on my channel asked me why I didn't do a big intro about, you know, what this means for each of us. And I have a hard time doing that because it means something different depending on your rising sign. You know, generalities are tough here. Any sky story that is going to be told about everybody, you know, this means this for everybody is simply wrong, right? Your rising sign is the lens from which you perceive that sky story and by which it impacts you. So I'm going to do something different today and start with Pisces. I'm just trying it out because I realize people always say that I don't have as much energy by the end and the last signs get short shrift. I'm not sure if that's true, but I'm going to pretend that that's true. So let's start off with the Pisces sun, moon, and rising sign. In this Cazimi moment, at 0 degrees and 14 minutes of your 8th house, there is a potential insight, download, reveal around your financial well-being, especially connected to your spouse or business partners, okay? Or tax money, rebates from taxes, credit cards, investment monies. This is money that you leverage to loans and bank loans and mortgages. Now, because it's the Cazimi, you Pisces rising and secondarily sun and moon, and if you're a Pisces rising sun and moon in the first 5 degrees of Pisces, well, you sort of get some more of this, but I'm not going to really say that. It's kind of an inversion to you. So let's skip that story. But you're going to feel anyway, all of you Pisces, there's something going on sort of in the peripheral back room regarding things to do with resources that are yours to participate in through other people and their money. Because it is a Cazimi, the day of, you could download ideas, you could have insights. So come to my webinar, check it out on the 22nd, and you can make a little magic happen and participate with this magical moment of king of the sky, the sun, and all the divine intelligence it represents, and Mercury, the messenger, collaborating in your 8th house. It is an ideal day to talk to the dead or have a ghost apparition or have some divine inspiration from someone who's passed on, FYI. But later on, as I mentioned, there are iterations down the line, and I would point you then to the go back to September 2nd, September 18th will be coming just before the Cazimi, and October the 11th. You may connect dots here regarding your finances and abundance and opportunity, especially around October 11th. Because that's the last pass and Mercury is direct, and you may be able to do things like get a mortgage, get a credit card loan, secure some financial well-being, and it would be in a way that you've done before, because Mercury is connecting with a Jupiter who is still retrograde until around the 3rd week of November. And so, you know, you'll be going back over old ground, renegotiating terms of mortgages, credit cards, credit card debts, and things like that. Or spousal shared resources, alimony, spousal support, inheritance monies, things like that. And don't forget, Mercury likes to negotiate. That's one of his things. You have negotiating power as he comes out of that Cazimi to get a fair and balanced deal or negotiation for yourself. Now, let's keep going. I'm going to move on to the Aries story. You're going to lose the Cazimi picture, unfortunately, because of the, I'm moving forward by days. Well, I apologize. Let's go instead by hours, which would be useful. So anyway, there we go, Pisces. It's a money story for you. And Venus is a money goddess in your 6th house of karmic debt and debts. For a lot of Pisces, it looks like you might be paying off a debt in one big swoop, a massive swoop debt payment that will be revealed to you as quite possible at the very latest by November the 7th. Aries, sun, moon, and especially rising sign. I am one of you. If you're a rising sun and moon any part of you, sun, moon, Aries, or rising sign in the first 5 degrees of the sign of Aries, you get most of the juice from this, but all Aries will feel this Cazimi. And it's going to be in the house of marriage for you. And so this is about your significant one-on-one relationships. And in what way could that come to a new level of insight download that's just speeding through the sky on a high-speed broadband download for you about how to create peace and harmony, ease and glow up in your significant love relationship, the one you're with, the one you're committed to, including a business relationship as well. For Aries who put things into the marketplace, the Cazimi on the 22nd, and come to my webinar, check out in the description box on the 22nd. You can consciously meditate with a group of us and get some extra learning about this to harness this sky story for your best good. But on the 22nd, it can actually be also some very potent message coming from your other, right? Your business partner, your significant loved one, and a client, an audience member. The 7th house is the part of the story, 10th house from the 10th house, where your career and visible career path out pictures as those people you reach through it, the words audience, marketplace, clients. Okay, so it could be like a female energy here. Venus is in a mutual reception, so a female client could reach out to you around the 22nd, not even knowing she's in a Cazimi window, with some kind of breakthrough, powerful, yay you information. Now, a longer story is Jupiter has been in that opposition to Mercury on September 2nd, once again from retrogradation, September 18th, and again on October 11th from direct motion. This Cazimi gets entangled with all of this. And so it's kind of possible that you could find that things that are going on the 22nd are reminiscent of events around September 18th with a significant other in your life, or a client or audience person. And you'll see the full fruiting of it, or the full direct momentum around the 11th of October, when there's that last opposition between Mercury and Jupiter. Jupiter-Mercury opposition isn't always a bad thing. And I should have said that up front. It can be like a real powerful amplification of information, news, and messages, right, that are happening for you on those dates I gave you. September 2, 18th, and then October 11th, kind of rounding out the story. Prescriptively, this is a really good time to take legal action or sign documents that are legal, even though Mercury is retrograde and it's not an ideal time. In the heart of the sun on the 22nd, he's protected from his retrograde foibles. And the longer story of the 7th house anyway, where this is happening, is all about legal agreements and contracts, vows, and oaths. So if you do need to sign something, of course, it's always better to have Mercury direct, and he will be in direct motion after the 2nd of October. But I do wonder if the Cazimi is giving you some insight, legal insight as well. So in other words, you might have some kind of legal breakthrough around the 22nd. Taurus, sun, moon, and rising sign. So if you are a Taurus, this is an energy of a new, deep, profound insight, revelation, or download that's available to you around the 6th house matters of your life. Now, the 6th house can be karmic debts, but also real life debts. And this is a place where debts can be returned to you as someone paying you back, or situations relieving you of debt issues. So for some of you Tauruses, you may experience this sort of debt relief energy going on. But there's something about the Cazimi itself on the 22nd that is pivotal and insightful information or news, because that Mercury can do that, ideas or insights about how this can happen for you. You've been seeing this Mercury opposition play out. September 2nd will play out September 18th, and again October 11th, to do with negotiating deals or negotiating debt relief or negotiating things, Mercury and Libra, at the Cazimi point anyway, that are being amplified by Jupiter in the 12th. And Jupiter in the 12th, because he's the god of justice, right, will try his best to work things out legally for you. This is angular to the house of courts. But he also is the guy of secret backroom deals and negotiations and hidden enemies. So there may be people working at cross purposes, and Mercury's trying to out them so that you know exactly who your allies and who your enemies are when it comes to these themes of work habits and health habits and routines, but also debt and debt relief. It's a great time for most Taurus rising, especially, to start some new health routine that brings greater balance to your life. But it comes through an insight that you may have around the 22nd of the month. And we can help you get rid of your own psychological undoing and self-sabotaging strategies and habits because of Jupiter in the 12th as well. With Venus in mutual reception from your 5th house, things that inspire you, bring you joy and pleasure and fun and play are being given a sort of a backroom activation around that Cazimi. It's almost like Venus is saying to Mercury in the heart of the sun in the house of work, and don't forget, pleasure is a good thing. Don't forget, we can be practical in our pleasure and our love, our creativity and our inspiration, and we can take care of our health and our work routines and our debts. So she's definitely aligning with some flow around 5th house matters as Mercury goes into the heart of the sun in her house, okay? In her 6th house, your 6th house, her Libran home. And lastly, you know, a female child or a female lover, Venus in the 5th, can have some information for you on the 22nd as well that is important for you to receive because it will allow for good things to happen in your life. Buy a lottery ticket on the 22nd, please, Taurus. That's one of the manifestations of Venus in the house of her joy. Lottery wins. Gemini, sun, moon, and rising sign. Well, you guys are aligned with Mercury. He's the lord of your sky. And so what he does is critical, and his Cazimis matter to you specifically. And he will Cazimi in the heart of the sun in your natal 5th house. And he does this, you know, at 0 degrees of Libra. And your 5th house is all about your children, your romance, your play, your inspiration, your independent business enterprise, your money, luck through speculation and gaming, just to name a few. Having the Cazimi actually in the house of gaming, you are, like the last sign I talked about, potentially able to win some money during the Cazimi window, which is the 22nd, more or less, of just take the day of September the 22nd. And my chart is advanced to September 23rd, which is annoying, right? So maybe to make the visuals a bit better, we'll go back by a day to so you're looking at the real deal on the 22nd. Yeah, it's really hard to line it up for you guys. I apologize. Maybe it's not worth trying. Okay, but nonetheless, you know, I'd say also that finding balance between work and play, finding balance between things that bring you joy and things that you need to do could be going on here. Jupiter is in opposition for you from your 11th house of friends and allies, and also just fun with social groups of people. And he's retrograding, going back over some old ground, but also this is where you could get perks from your career. So like things like raises and awards and great gains and all of that. I wonder about this for some of you Geminis, that you could be getting some sort of perk here that is trying to come through a very auspicious 5th house. This is a very fortunate axis, you know, with the Jupiter in a conversation with the Cazimi in the 5th, it can look like a sudden financial windfall, because windfalls happen from the 11th, money luck happens from the 5th. So how you get a windfall as a Gemini rising, and I'm a Gemini progress rising, so I'm hopeful for myself, is beyond me, but it looks like it's one of the possibilities. The other thing is conversations with your children or child. Mercury's conversation, one-on-one relating around the 22nd. Is there a big conversation you need to have with a child? And did you try to have the same kind of conversation with a child or a lover September 2nd, September 18th, and then again you will on October 11th, ongoing discussions here about something perhaps important. And with Venus as a Gemini rising in your 4th house of your home where you live, real estate, there's some things going on here. You can't make this stuff up. This just happened to me as a Gemini rising, where I have to move again. You can't make this up. I'm an Aquarius rising actually, but progress Gemini. Anyway, there is something going on here for you guys. All right. Where it looks like the Cazimi on the 22nd of September somehow ties into things to do with females and where you live. And it could be on the 22nd, expect some information or news from your landlord, a female roommate, or something to do with money and property and your abode. All right. So, and if it comes through a Cazimi, it's probably a pretty sweet spot. Honestly, I would not stress about it. And, the last thing I'd say about that is there's more good than bad here because the Cazimi is on an axis that involves luck. So for Gemini risings, especially, this is quite lovely. And if your sun, moon, or rising sign is in the first 5 degrees of Gemini, it's exceptionally yay you. Okay, trining you, flowing with luck toward you. All right, so then we move on and we talk about Cancer, sun, moon, rising sign. And if you are Cancer, sun, moon, and rising sign within the first 5 degrees, it's extra juicy for you. This is a angular cardinal square to you. You're got like, it's intense. It really does catapult stuff forward for all of you cardinal signs. And so you're one of the cardinals, you Cancer rising people, and sun and moon as well. What I'd say here is that whatever is happening in this like Mercury moment on the 22nd, and check out my webinar, come do it. You guys need to, because this is critical for you. There's some kind of potent, powerful download, insight, clarity coming to you, important news even, but that's coming to you around the 22nd on the day of the Cazimi, perhaps. And it also is like, there's a tension between, for a lot of Cancer, some kind of obligations around your expansion in your work, which is absolutely amazing. Jupiter is expanding your work environment, your public reputation in the work you do, right? From May of 22 to May of 23. But there's this tension, Mercury down below in the house of your home and land and real estate and where you live, and tension in the sky, like a boss wants you to spend more time at work maybe, or you're getting propelled to take courses or teach something, but you really want to just nest at home or something. There's tension here. And you might have felt this tension between like September 2nd, again, we'll feel it on September 18th, and we'll complete on October 11th and resolve itself. Mercury in your 4th house can allow you to purchase real estate because he's marketing mercantile, or sell a piece of real estate, or put your real estate on the market. Okay. And at the Cazimi point, the 0 point of Libra, this is very much something you may be paying attention to on September 22nd. Mercury will come back into your 4th house from October 10th to the end of the month of October. So this can be things like getting a clarity about which agent you want. Mercury can rule agents and brokers, signing a contract to buy or sell. And then when Mercury goes back into Libra on the 10th of October through to the end of the month, as he's now in direct motion, right, you may find that this goes back to things to do with buying and selling, or making legal agreements regarding homeland, property, and real estate, as well as legacy, wealth, and inheritances. And Venus in mutual reception from your 3rd house means siblings and aunts, uncles, cousins, nieces, and nephews, or trips and travel are somehow all entwined with this narrative. And even on the 22nd, look for opportunities, messages from siblings, aunts, uncles, cousins, nieces, and nephews, or opportunity to travel. But you learn about it, or you get the download about it around the 22nd of September. Okay. Leo, sun, moon, and rising, come to my webinar, my Cazimi webinar on the 22nd. Check it out. It is, you can watch the replay. It's free. It's free. Come join in. Alrighty. Sigh. So this is a Cazimi. If you have a Leo, sun, moon, or rising in the first 5 degrees, you get the most juice, but everyone gets it. The Cazimi is happening in your 3rd house of trips and travel. Skill-based learning, writing, online community, social media stuff, your website, siblings, aunts, uncles, cousins. Did I say that? And essentially, it's a very busy cadent house where you do a lot of work. I mean, busy things happen in busy places here. Mercury here, because he likes to write, especially in Libra, library, Libra book, could be giving you a download if you are a Leo rising and writing is a part of your thing, a writing download on the 22nd. Big inspiration could come through there. And with Jupiter in the house of book publishing, that is also very auspicious regarding book publishing as well, and breakthroughs like agents and stuff, if that's a part of what you do as a Leo. And sorry, my voice is hoarse. I kind of got over something that felt like COVID, and plus we got smoke here in Vancouver in the sky from the wildfires, Vancouver, Canada. I think that a lot of you will want to learn something. There's like a propulsion to study or learn something in this kind of sky. And, you know, go back to September 2nd, was there a course you were looking at and taking? And then September 18th, you're assessing it. And then October 11th, you're finalizing it. It looks a lot like studying something, especially when October the 10th to the end of the month, you got Mercury direct in and finishing up in your third house. And or same would apply to a trip, you know, planning a trip September 1st, or having been on a trip September 1st, then having some connection to trips and travel again on September 18th, and then finalizing things like, you know, taking the trip or getting your ticket aligned by October the 11th or on October 11th. And, you know, seeing an oracle, a diviner, a crystal ball gazer, a tarot card reader, an astrologer. Mercury is in the house of those things, the house of the goddess. And so it's a great day for you to plan that on the 22nd, but also maybe you'll hear from one of those people, or some news about those kinds of people can enter your sphere of knowledge on the 22nd. And Venus wants to help you with money, right? Mutual reception of Venus, Mercury from your earnings house. A hummingbird just showed up for you guys in front of my window. So I think you could get some money breakthroughs because of the Cazimi. So whatever you're downloading, your insights are happening on the 22nd. It could ultimately lead to some financial goodness in your sky. All right. More so later in October, when Libra will, Venus will be joining Mercury in Libra, but still a good thing for you. Virgo, sun, moon, rising sign, Cazimi time in your money and earnings and possessions house. Now, this is always a good thing. It's a potentized, you know, 0-degree energy. It's very powerful for some fresh start in your finances. And yet the Cazimi itself is like the seed that's planted there, as well as insights you may have on the 22nd itself. Come take my webinar and harness that power yourself. It's free on the 22nd with a replay available. But anyway, some fresh new money seed is planted. Now, I don't want to worry you, but with Jupiter in the 8th house, this could be money coming from an inheritance as well. And with Jupiter connecting with Mercury back September 2nd, once again on the 18th of September, and finally on October 11th in direct motion. These are all the same narrative in 3 different iterations. What could possibly be going on with money that you can get your hands on that doesn't belong to you? So inheritance, money from your spouse, money from a business partnership, money from a loan. These are all things that can happen for a lot of you Virgos. With Venus participating, well, and the last thing I'd say is that possessions are also the 2nd house. So a new possession may be coming into your life that brings you greater financial bounty because of Jupiter expanding your 8th house. So, you know, the thing you really need in order to succeed, you know, that one possession, like you need to drive to work, but you don't have a car, so you end up with a car or something like that. Or the laptop's broken, now you get a new one. I don't know, that kind of stuff. And then, you know, you could have some news or information coming through the work sphere, because the 2nd house is in a trine to your 10th house. This often can outpicture as information from a colleague or a boss, or news from a colleague or a boss coming through around the 22nd. That's a new seed that amplifies some kind of financial goodness in your sky. Venus, the money goddess and beauty goddess, is in the house of you at the time of the Cazimi. So you can be very persuasive, charismatic, and beautiful. And you may have a way of asking the right way for what you need, that promotion, that raise, that extra money, or just speaking in your coy Venusian way here about what it is that you need so that what you want financially can come to pass. Who are you talking to is my question. Venus is looking up across the way at the business partners and the love partners. So you may be talking to them in order to make changes in your money houses, number 2 and 8. And you could also be talking to a boss or a colleague at work. Okay. Moving forward. Not that far forward. Did you guys see that? Oh my gosh. Scorpio, sun, moon, rising sign. When your sky looks like this, you should be smiling. Well, I'm going to blame Mercury retrograde because I'm splicing in Libra, the star of the Mercury Cazimi at 0 Libra, because unfortunately I glitched yesterday at my recording when my screen advanced quickly. And when I went back to fix it, I forgot about Libra. Yeah, you know, talk about a Mercury retrograde moment. So let's talk about you guys. And I really don't like splicing and editing, guys, because I'm really bad at it. And my iMovie's slow, and it takes like 3 hours to upload an iMovie video to YouTube versus when I do it on Zoom, which takes about 15, no, maybe about 7 minutes. So this is going to delay production. Anyway, that's just life. So here we go. the day after the 15th recording on the 16th of September, I'm now talking about Libra rising, sun and moon, the Cazimi at 0 degrees of Libra where Mercury sits, and the sun will be on the 22nd. It's not showing in this chart because I have it at 8:09 because that's when it's Libra rising in Vancouver. But trust me, there will be that Cazimi around noon Pacific time, and you are big time impacted by this. Now, one of the things about this for you is it's really all about a very exquisite and powerful reset in your identity. You are resetting you. And remember, there is a proximity in the sky to that asteroid Wuhan. And that's a kind of regime changing, overthrowing, rebellious energy as well from the history of that part of China. So what kind of overthrow, rebellion, and regime change of identity may be incubating and being seated on the 22nd of September as Mercury goes into the heart of the sun, speaks with the divine intelligence as Mercury's power is illuminated by the sun in the house of your body, your health, like your physical form, your sense of self, the way you perceive your identity and the way others see you as well. So there's a huge, really intense 0 point, right? 0 is about new starts. It's an incipient new beginning of some kind. And you may get the full force of this new beginning, the full, sort of reveal, more so, as I said in many of these videos, when Mercury becomes once again a visible planet near the end, right? The last few days of September, when he's peeking up from beneath the beams of the sun and becoming available for our eyes again. So yeah, there are things that may happen on the 22nd that may be very, very much about this story of this new you that's forming in the sky and this new sense of identity. As well, you could find that because there's an opposition to Jupiter that has been ongoing, and I mentioned the dates in all of the videos, September 2nd, 18th, September 18th, and October 11th, that there's this kind of 3-part story, and you're in the middle of that story around the 22nd, right, from the September 18th opposition to Jupiter. So what is it that Mercury and Jupiter are like talking about in your sky? And you got the Mercury in the house of you, and Mercury doesn't mind being in Libra, right? Air sign, ideas, communications, relating. And so you probably have something that you are trying to relate, communicate, speak, or message up into the world. And you are in some kind of tension with a Jupiter figure. It could be a client. It could be a significant partner, like a love or business partner in your life. It could just be the general audience and marketplace to which you are trying to aim your message. If you are somebody who has a marketplace that you sell your 10th house goods to, or a marketplace for your 10th house career. So your audience, for example, is your 7th house, those significant others for your career space. Well, some of you may be really changing up what it is you want to do in terms of who you focus on in this part of your world. Maybe your message isn't changing, maybe the people you deliver it to is. And Jupiter can also be conflict or tension with a teacher or somebody who's in a power of leadership, and it's coming at you, right? September 2nd, September 18th, and October 11th. And possibly, as I said, a business partner or collaborating partner in your business can be involved in this as well. Now, as well as love partners. Now, the love partner thing, this tension with Jupiter is the sort of the de facto good guy in the house of marriage. And for a Libra sun, moon, but more rising sign, especially in the first 5 degrees, Jupiter's like trying to amplify your marriage or your significant other relationship stories. However, he is also the god of blessed endings, and he is retrograding and going back over old ground right now. So until he goes direct, which won't be down the pipeline until the 3rd week of November, you're going back over some old ground in your relationship. And then he'll be refreshing your significant love relationship screen, completely resetting and refreshing it in a powerful forward momentum way, December 20th to the end of May next year, or middle of May next year. So you do have this kind of thing that's happening now that really hinges on a later story. So even this Cazimi could be about marital disruptions, business partner disruptions, challenges in that area of your life. A lot of that will, as I said, after December 20th, completely clear. But with the Cazimi, I think you're seeding something new for you, basically. Some new way of being, or some new way of messaging or communicating that is going to help you deal with that relationship, business or love, or audience or client gnarly tension that's going on here. Look to October 11th for the last time that Mercury will deal up that tension with Jupiter in your 7th house. Jupiter rules law, legal matters, vows, oaths, and contracts, and legal papers you sign are the 7th house. So also those things may be the themes of September 2nd, September 18th, and October 11th as well, resolving at the end of it. Venus is in a mutual reception from your house of hidden enemies, particularly with Venus, a female hidden enemy, and she's in mutual reception to your Cazimi with Mercury. So she does have her eye on it from a place that is off your peripheral view and you can't see it. Sometimes I think with things like Venus here, especially a Venus out of dignity in Virgo, she's fallen. You just may have to really have a keen awareness that around the 22nd of the month, and then later on even, until Mercury backs up into your 12th house and gets his story going there, which is Jesus right after the Cazimi. So, on the 23rd of the month of, so if you've been blind to some female or hidden enemy or someone who doesn't have your back and not seeing it, believe me, within a couple of days of this Cazimi, you're going to be well aware of it. Mercury will go in to inspect what's going on in that 12th house. Other Venus things can be, she would like to help your Mercury market and merchandise a message that can reach international shores and you can make money, Venus, from that stuff. Venus is also in the house of things you can't see. She's a goddess of love. Are you a Libra who is going to be blindsided or has been blindsided by some problems in your love life that are hidden from your view? And then they're going to be revealed to you around the 23rd, 24th, because of Mercury going back into the 12th house of those things you can't see. So just keep your eye on the ball for that. And I hope, Libra, at the very least, what you take away from this is a powerful world axis reset. But for you at 0 Libra, this Cazimi is going to also really deeply inform a new version of you that's coming into being, and that you'll see lots of evidence for this new you, okay? Once Mercury comes back through into the sign of Libra around the 10th of the month of, I hope I remember that right, but yeah, around the 10th of the month of, my brain, 10th of the month of October. Now, because I don't know what I have. I don't know if I have menopause brain or if I have Mercury retrograde brain. I'm going to double check. Is it the 10th of October that he comes back? Yeah. 10th, 11th of October. Yeah. So once Mercury comes back to the house of you, there's a real consolidation of a reset in your identity. And around October 11th as well is that return of the opposition to Jupiter. Alrighty. Ciao, everybody who are Libras. I'm going to try splicing you into the middle of the other video, because there is this Cazimi in the house of your self-undoing. In essence, you may be able to get yourself off a treadmill of addictions, self-defeating habits and patterns, and ways that you definitely sabotage yourself. A fresh start, powerful 0 degrees. You could let go of the vape, let go of the weed addiction, let go of the alcohol addiction, whatever it is, this is good for that. And you're also getting support from Jupiter, but Jupiter is in your 6th house of health routines as well. So that helps, right? It could be something as simple as jogging every day, exercising, eating the right foods, and going to the right medical practitioner. So Jupiter supporting you to release some of these self-addiction, self-defeating habits is a new fresh start for you. On the 22nd of September, you're going to have some insights and downloads, maybe from your dreams or your meditations, 12th house, things like that. Mercury is a dream messenger, and he was known to give messages and dreams from the gods to the mortals. And so you may have one of those powerful dreams around the 22nd that just OMGs you into a new clarity about how you can be more successful by releasing the ways that you don't create success in your life. Jupiter is in the house of work and workplace, and Mercury's in the house of backroom deals. And the Cazimi can activate backroom negotiations and deals on your behalf in order to succeed and have greater greatness in your career. You guys are killing it in the daily way you do your work, the habits and routines, and the workspace. People are admiring you, seeing you as more powerful. Bosses are liking you, right, Scorpios? And this is going to be true until next May. And it started in May of 22 to May of 23. So pay attention to this idea that perhaps there's a 3-part story here. September 2nd, connecting to September 18th, connecting to October 11th, where Mercury and Jupiter are colliding and collaborating around, could be things like better terms of your work, better wages, better gains in your career, maybe things to do with better health routines as well. Good news on the money, on the health front, though, because Jupiter is trying to propel you to be better equipped to be healthy and not to be sick. Venus is a mutual reception from your 11th, a house of good spirit and a very fortunate house. So she's doing her best in the sign of health, Virgo, to support this story as well. And she would talk mostly to this story or whatever, participate by maybe trying to help you find your joy spark and create more enthusiasm and inspiration in your life to dovetail with the idea of better health and work routines and more clarity and freedom for Scorpio risings, away from the karmic and the self-sabotaging stuff, some of it coming from your ancestral line, and you're just carrying the weight of the ancestors. And even in that regard, this is a very powerful Cazimi. I have to say, Mercury retrograde is so magical, and he's such a magician. And so if you want to miraculously heal something that plagues you physically or psychologically or mentally or addictively, this is your opportunity. There's no doubt about it. Sagittarius, sun, moon, rising sign. This energy in your sky is a Cazimi that will happen at 0 degrees of Libra in your 11th house of good spirit. Well, that's a positive place for anything to happen. It is a house of pennies from heaven, great gains from your career, friends and favors from friends and allies. Pay attention to the day of the magical Cazimi, the 22nd of September. Please take my webinar, see what daydreams you can conjure, what meditations we can do to help you harness it. It is free. And it also involves a lovely, little more detailed tutorial on this aspect of this Cazimi. Now, one of the things I'd say to you, replay available, is that you may be able to negotiate something that brings you great financial gain from whatever career path you're on. And this could happen around the 22nd, but it may also go back in time, you know, historically, to things that were happening September 2nd, September 18th, and then again, coming up October 11th. These are connected points of a Jupiter-Mercury opposition. And it's almost like you could be trying to negotiate and make a deal, Mercury, and communicate successfully about terms, balanced terms of agreements here, about something that you wish to attain in your career path, but also that you want to bring in some support from Jupiter in the 5th house. Now, this is also for some Sages about having more enjoyment, fun, play, and pleasure. And Jupiter's retrograding to go back over old ground and expand your play pleasure. He can make you or your partner pregnant here, so be careful. But he can also expand the romance and the excitement and the fun and the joy of your life. And so you may be in a time where you're making negotiations around your career story so that you can have more successful enjoyment, fun, play, and pleasure already in your story. And you'll see by October 11th, this is possibly very obvious and true. And Venus, by the way, is in a mutual reception from the 10th. And this could be promotions and raises and payments in your career that support you coming into your life around the Cazimi of the 22nd, but maybe not visible fully until Mercury is more visible in the sky after the 28th, 29th of September, right? Like, you know, you might not see the full Monty there until then, even though the Cazimi is on the 22nd. And lastly, women in the workplace, women in the career space, potentially being very supportive of some new terms of financial gain or reputation regarding your career and the gains from that career. Lastly, with Jupiter in your 5th house of money luck and speculative money luck, especially games and casinos and lotteries, and Mercury, marketing, merchandising, and gaming as well, in your 11th house of pennies from heaven, it's an opportune time to grab some pennies from heaven. Hang on, total Mercury retrograde. Hello? Are they there? Well, that's not going to work. It can't work. So you have to bring the bag to my house because they're driving an hour and a half to come to get the stuff. And if they show up here and I can't get either of you, it's not going to work. I'm in the middle of a recording right now. Can you drop the bag off? Okay, thanks. Just buzz me, okay? Thanks, Teddy. Bye-bye. See what I mean? Mercury retrograde. that was the call I talked about earlier that I had to take, that the buzzer was going to buzz and I couldn't turn my dings off. Anyway, there you go. Just for you, Sages, I gave you that story. Okay, enough. Moving forward. Capricorn, sun, moon, and rising sign, the energy of the sky is opening up a gateway for you that has a lot to do with a new beginning, a fresh start in your career. This Cazimi is angular to your identity, and it's very important. A real solid new beginning is being seeded for you, that you will see the outpicturing of at the very latest by November the 7th, but more so after Mercury goes into visibility again around the 28th, 29th of the month of September, and especially after he goes back to Libra October 10th. So I'd say October 10th to November 7th for a lot of you Capricorns, this is like a seed that's planted on the 22nd in the house of your career and reputation. So it won't be fully visible right away. So it could be some secret backroom deals, information, negotiations with the head honcho, the vice president, the president, the boss, the owner of the company, someone high up. You know, the sun is the person on the top of the authority food chain here. And Mercury is negotiations, deals, and communications. So this looks exciting. And Jupiter is on the opposite side of the sky, you know, and around September 2nd, September 18th, and future time, October 11th, there's a conversation between Jupiter and Mercury. And this conversation could be about how to expand your home life by virtue of things going on in your career life. And do you want to change your home? For some of you Capricorns, you might want to do that. You can have a bounteous and successful change of home with this alignment, but you're changing your home because of things connected to your work situation. Some of you may want to change your home to a foreign land with Venus in mutual reception from the house of foreign shores. Maybe you're negotiating with a boss to work from home from a foreign shore. You also could find that you need to learn or want to learn something, and Venus is going to show you what you need to learn. Then it could be taking a course, a professional development course, or some course of study, or a trip that you need to take to a foreign land that's going to fortify you in your environment of your work success and your working from home success, or expansion of your home life because of work perks. You know, get a giant raise or some kind of a promotion allows you to afford a better home, or something like that. You know, the boss is definitely the sun. And so if you're a Capricorn rising and you want to approach the boss, this is a good time. The Cazimi itself is free of all the glitches of Mercury retrograde. So the 22nd holds promise on Thursday, Jupiter's day, the 22nd, for some really luscious opportunities in the workspace. But I don't think you can really micromanage Cazimis. I think they're the sky magic that's befalling us. So anyway, come to my webinar, Capricorns, check it out on the 22nd. See if you want to go deeper into this, maybe attune with the Cazimi itself. I mean, with Wuhan, the kind of regime change energy, there could be a massive shift around your hierarchy in your business place, in your workplace, where someone high up is leaving, and that gives you space to move forward or higher as well. Right? The revolutionary Wuhan overthrow, regime change, that kind of thing. I am an Aquarius rising. This is our sky. And if you're Aquarius rising like I am, you're getting a big flow love up from the 9th house. This is very powerful, very positive, and you may find that you are going to receive some blessings from this that are quite extraordinary, because it's a Cazimi applying in a superior trine to us. And you know, if your rising sign or your sun or your moon is in the first 5 degrees, it's especially potent. Now, 5 degrees of Aquarius. Now, this can be about legal contracts. This can be about court cases ruling in your favor, visas, passports, travel to foreign lands, arrangements for travel. This can be about book publishing breakthroughs, and this can be about a breakthrough around something that you wish to study or learn, especially higher learning, academic, or learning that requires a diploma or a certificate of you know, to prove you did it, you know. So you may hear news or find out about on the 22nd something that you wish to study, an opportunity for travel you wish to take, some visa affairs working, finally passport comes through on your behalf. 9th house has got a deeper spiritual element. It's the house of God, and it's the direct experience of the numinous, the direct revelation of the divine through a direct encounter with God, basically. So if you're a spiritually inclined Aquarian, you may have a spiritual breakthrough of some sort, or spiritual awakening energy around the 22nd when that Cazimi happens, but it's a seeding of a new story. And Mercury won't be visible to fully deliver it until the end of September. So waiting for that Mercury visibility helps. Mercury will not be back to Libra until the 10th of October to the end of the month as well. Is that right? I'm not sure of those dates. Yes, that's right. So Mm. This is a time, in some ways, let's put it this way. If you want to have a spiritual enlightenment episode, and I don't know that most people do, let's be clear, right? That's not everybody's cup of tea. But if that's something that you're thinking that you want in your life, to experience this energy of intuitive awakening, spiritual opening, enlightenment, do meditate, or at least do something spiritual, whatever that means to you, on the 22nd. It's very possible that that's something that's trying to happen in your sky. And lastly, you have some love up from, well, first of all, you have the Venus opposition in your third, we do. And this is Jupiter opposition from your third. So this is a very strong travel axis, right? So what were you doing or thinking about doing on September 2nd that had to do with travel? How does September 18th, will that connect with that? And how then on October 11th does this finalize? So looks like a lot of things to do with organizing opportunities for travel, for learning. And this is a new seed of something fresh. And for travel, it may involve a significant other or a partner traveling with a partner to a partner traveling to you. These stories are there as well. It could also look like a new beginning in your life's direction, your purpose, the Dharma, the individual signature, and the meaning of your own life. It's such a powerful energy here, Aquarius, because it is at that world axis point. Venus is loving us up here in a mutual reception to Mercury from the house of our joint resources, like the bank loans, the credit cards, leveraging money, inheritance money, our spouse's money, our business partner monies, our investment monies. Now, this can involve Venus trying to participate in a subtle way by lending a hand and telling Mercury in your ninth house that she's got it. I've got this. I've got the money thing all organized. Don't worry about the finances. We'll work that all out. I've got practical solutions for the money stuff, that kind of thing. Also, good time to have females supporting you in your financial endeavors, especially dead females. As weird as that sounds, Venus in the house of the dead, from the other side, lending a hand as best they can from the afterlife to support some success financially. And then moving forward. Oh, I started with Pisces. I'm done. Yay, me. All right. Don't forget, like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. I think I've got a dirty screen. Oh, well, the camera lens, I think it needs to be clean. But anyway, it's all blurry. Like and subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. Check out the free webinar. Jump on aboard with me, have some fun. We're going to do a great class around 1 o'clock for free on Thursday, the 22nd. Why don't you jump in? You get a replay. You can still harness the information and the magical meditation at the end, even if you don't do it live with me. All right. The Cazimi energy is kind of playing out for most of the 22nd of September. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you. Thank you for supporting my channel. Thank you.